Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi there. Welcome to the 37th episode of A Couple Takes on MS. Hi, this is Dan Digman.
And hi, it's me, Jennifer Digman.
And we want to welcome you to this show that it's really kind of an exciting time of year. I mean, even more so than Christmas and the holidays. I think that this is the most wonderful time because at last we're done with the winter.
I hope. No, I think we're here, Dan. I think warm weather has finally reached us in Michigan. So I feel comfortable that I'm going to put away my winter jacket.
I saw that we, on our dining room table, or at the dining room table with the chairs, we have our winter coats on the backs of the chairs, and I noticed those this morning. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe now is the time, and I want to jinx us, but
No, maybe now is the time, but I'm struggling. Dan mentioned, it's warm and we're summer is almost here. And I'm thinking, good heavens, it was not even 2 weeks ago that we walked in Walk MS or participated in Walk MS event, and it was 40 degrees at the start of the walk. So forgive me for being a little hesitant to put away my winter jacket. Again, I live in Michigan, and I don't think it's unheard of for colder weather this time of the year, but I'm fingers crossed. I'm ready. I'm ready for warm weather.
and with that, looking at the summer, and we with Memorial Weekend and everything is like the unofficial start to summer vacations. What we're going to talk about today and help you, just give you some tips, everyone who's listening to us, tips for helping you to beat the summer heat and tips to help you get the most out of your summer. I know that one of the biggest issues of those of us with MS is the sensitivity to the heat, and what we're going to offer you are just some ideas to beat the summer heat and have fun despite your MS.
And make the summer heat livable. Dan and I are not thinking, oh, just go inside and blast your air conditioning. No, we know that heat can be the enemy of those of us living with multiple sclerosis. And we want to encourage people to stay active in their community and outside. And just making some simple tweaks to your daily routine can help you keep going in the heat. Pretty much everywhere deals with hot weather, even here in Michigan. So these are some tips that have helped us since our diagnosis nearly 20 years ago for Dan and 20 years ago for me.
Maybe more than 20 years for you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm your old lady.
I was going to say, not that it's a competition, but you'd win. So,
Yes, sir.
So here, because, like I say, it's like Jennifer said, not to hold up in your air conditioning all day. I mean, go out and have fun. And one of the things that we want to encourage you to do is treat yourself. I mean, you need to stay hydrated, but think of all of the cool treats that you can have to help you cool off. Things like ice cream.
Because it's not necessarily, for those of you who haven't dealt with heat since your diagnosis with MS, or those of you that are caregivers, it's not like warm weather is, boom, going to make your MS have an exacerbation. But the heat will slow down the signals your brain is sending to your extremities, and so any of those sclerotic plaques will get a little more wonky and the signals won't go as well. So that's why it's really important to keep your internal temperature a little bit cooler. And one of the ways that they can help, as silly and as simple as it sounds, is just have some cold water or my go-to is to have some ice cream. Just cool yourself off when you're getting warm, so that you don't start to get the wavy vision or the increased numbness. Not that we're doctors, but I have noticed, I think you and I both have experienced, when you're overheated, just drinking something cold makes a humongous difference in making the symptoms not so bad.
Yeah, I think, well, I'm just looking back, not to put you on the spot or call things out, but I mean, when we were at a train concert several years ago, and it was so unbelievably hot, and I noticed Jennifer, and she was just like getting kind of loopy and things, and it was
Loopy in a sort of gibberish speaking, not talking a lot way where Dan was concerned.
And I think it was like it was over 90 degrees in the amount of humidity. I mean, granted, it was an evening concert, but obviously when you get there at 6 o'clock, it's still hot from the day. And it was just a matter of taking Jennifer around to a shaded area at the concert venue and stopping. I think it was like a frozen lemonade.
It was the most delicious frozen lemonade, because just a couple bites or drinks, if you can drink frozen lemonade, just a few bites of that cooled me down, and I started like speaking regular speak, and I felt a little more with it. And so something simple like that can really help. And when it's warm out, there's no comfort as good as something to cool you off.
And the other thing too, and obviously some of these are obvious, but I mean sometimes we have to remember, because as much as we want to be out in the summer sun, find value in the shade. And you go to the parks, there'll be pavilions, there'll be trees. Like here at the house, it can be hot out on the patio, so then you get out of the sun and go on the shaded deck, and you're there. So I think those are just some of the simple starting.
Simple.
Well, and the other thing too is, like you had talked about, a cooling vest in terms of reducing your core body temperature. And I mean, there are certainly resources within the MS communities to get cooling vests.
And to help to assist you to pay for one, because they can be kind of expensive. But a cooling vest or a cooling scarf, which is a lower cost alternative, but just something to cool down your core temperature makes a difference.
Even just like a cool rag on your head or on your neck. But I think it's look through, I believe it's the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. I think
they will assist you, patient assistance, with getting a cooling vest.
And another thing to really think about, as we're talking about, just being cool and, with things like that in terms of treating yourself to things, look at when and where you go out and do things. We're encouraging to become either a morning person or a night owl.
Absolutely. I have friends whose parents live in, Florida or Arizona, both, in warm temperatures. And it's kind of like living in Michigan with our cold temperatures. We do things here in Michigan when it's really cold, after the salt trucks come and after the roads have been cleared. Well, in a really hot state, or when it's really hot outside, do things in the morning before the sun has fully come up, or do things late at night when it's a little cooler and the sun has gone down. So it's the human way of outsmarting the weather and Mother Nature. Do things in time appropriate blocks where it is a little cooler.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at like wanting to go to like a baseball game, obviously, you get the, summer heat in the middle of the afternoon. But look, I mean, there will be night games, or go for your walks in the morning. I mean, when I used to run, it was like you either go early in the morning or late at night.
And just think about, like, if you grow plants or flowers, you don't water your plants or your flowers in the middle of the afternoon. That will kill them. I can tell you this from personal experience. So if you're going to kill a plant by giving it water in the middle of the day, that's probably because it's when it's the most warm and the hottest and the sun's at the brightest. So don't wilt yourself, don't do things in the middle of the day when the sun's at its peak and the temperature is at its warmest. So we always tell people that. And then, it's important just like to set your own pace. You have to know your own limits. in what you're able to do, what your system, what your body will support you to do.
And I think that that's just because, when you're going out with your friends, and hopefully then help them to understand. I think that's the big thing in terms of, tying back to things we've about before, in terms of being your own best advocate. Talk to your friends and let them know what you need, where you're at, how you can benefit from going to these things, and how much you can do. I think a lot of times, I speak from our experiences, we tend to overdo it. And
Absolutely. And Dan and I want to take advantage of being able to do as much as we can. And you want to savor those warm weather days, and getting to go to a baseball game or going out to a picnic at the park. But you have to be conscious of what your body and your nervous system are really going to let you do.
Well, it's just like giving yourself that time out. I'm thinking to when we go back to Iowa for the 4th of July, because my family's back in Iowa, and obviously, 4th of July is a big, huge thing, and you get up, you go to the fireman's breakfast and everything, you go, and it's hot.
And you watch a parade.
And you're, because I'm thinking when we were sitting out at the parade last year, and it was getting, for the both of us, just the heat was just stifling.
It was stifling, and you were starting to show, that you were getting overheated. Your legs were a little more clumsy, and I love you, but you just seemed a little dazed, where it's like, okay, Dan, get something to drink. Let's get in the shade.
And because we went in, because we're like outside of my godmother's condo and everything, there was like a community room in there, and truly, all of our families sitting out watching the parade, and we're just like, okay, we just need to go inside.
We
and cool
know
off.
our limits, and we enjoy our family. We want to spend as much time with them as possible, but you want to have quality time. You don't want to be sitting out at a parade in spite of your own health. Like, oh, I'm going to just sit out here and bake and not be able to move or talk and so recognizing that and putting yourself first, which sounds selfish, is not really selfish, because you're going to take care of yourself, and that's going to benefit your family and friends, because when you're at your best, that's when they enjoy us the most.
Well, and I think, and because then we're able to last longer, because we took that time out. So again, to set your own pace when you're dealing with things, especially in the summer months and the summer heat.
Yes, and that's really important. But much like setting your own pace and using your limits, it's important to redefine what summer fun is. I have a girlfriend, Amy. She's been my friend my entire life practically. And she and I used to lay in the backyard, and we'd slather ourselves with suntan oil, and we would try and get a suntan, or we would go out and do things in the peak of the day when it was blazing hot. Well, because we were young and we can do that. But she's my friend still now, and neither one of us would want to go out and sit in the middle of the day, because that's not fun. I'm not going to be a quality friend when I'm all slow and confused because it's so warm, and she's not going to enjoy that as much. So we redefined the summer fun. Maybe Amy and Jen want to hook up with her husband Scott, my husband Dan. We'll go inside, we'll have cocktails and lunch at the peak of the afternoon. And then when it's a little cooler, we'll go outside. But we just have to realize that fun is accepting the limitations of your MS and outsmarting them and saying, haha, MS, you don't want me to go outside at 12 o'clock, but take that, I'm going to go outside at 3. And I'll still have as much fun because I'm not going to be all wilted.
Well, and I think that is the big thing. That's where you look at what's fun. And we had talked earlier about not wanting to stay closed up in the air conditioning, but at the same time, then go see a matinee, go to a movie, go in the afternoon to the theater, because then you're out and about, you're having fun, you're getting cheaper movie prices.
Right, lower prices, and you're getting in a air-conditioned theater. Heck, let me pay $5 or $6 for a movie, and 3 hours of air conditioning. That seems like a win-win.
Well, and you flip the date order. Don't have dinner and a movie. Have movie and dinner. Go
Very
out
smart.
afterwards, or pack a cooler and a picnic and go out after the movie, because then it'll be cooler in the shade in the evening.
Absolutely,
And
that's a
then,
good point.
then you have a movie to talk about.
Yes, and in case if you're on a date and your date's a little floundering for conversation, you have that movie to talk about. Good point, Dan.
Not that we speak from experience, but
No.
no, I think that was just like our showing our age, that we go to movies and then the dinner because you're not out so late.
No, you're not out so late, and again, you're kind of looking at what's possible. You want to conserve your energy and you want to take advantage of you while you're at your peak. And so Dan and I, we don't really go out super late anymore because we know we're tired and we won't enjoy it as much. So pack in the 7 or 8 o'clock hour and do something fun. And I think that's just accepting and recognizing the course of your disease.
Exactly. And I think another thing to think about is just the accessibility. We talk about all these fun things like baseball games and evening concerts and things like that. But when people talk about the summer, a lot of times you're talking the beach and talking
Right.
about sand and water, and especially for people, I have difficult time walking in the sand when it gets hot. Your chair would not survive in the sand, and
I
I'd have to
just
push.
sink in the sand. And you're right. A few years ago we went up to the beach and I just kind of sunk in the sand and my wheels, it was not good. But now, I know as we talk about the beach, Dan and I have plans to go on a pontoon boat to go fishing because we looked into an accessible fishing and we're going to go with some good friends and we'll be able to enjoy what a lot of people do, fishing. They don't even think about what that's like for someone with a disability or a wheelchair. We need a little more accessible fishing. We need a boat that I can roll onto in my wheelchair, and we will need a little help tying the lure because we have numb fingers. But you research that and you find accessible fishing places, or if you're going to a concert like Dan was talking about, call the venue and see if they have handicap accessible seating that's a little closer so you don't have to walk as far down the venue or walk up on a hill if that's where the concert is. So look for accessibility.
Well, I think, yeah, because that's the big thing, is do your homework, do your research into finding these things. Obviously, we talk beaches and you'd be in the sand and everything.
Right.
But that's the cool thing, is there's a lot of places that have accessible walkways on the beaches, so you can do that on the boardwalks. And I know that's the big thing with where we're going fishing, is it's a totally handicap accessible
Launch,
boat
like
landing and
boat
stuff.
launch,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the whole dock is accessible. So even if we could not get out onto the pontoon, we could fish from the dock. And I think that's
Yeah.
the big thing, is you make the reservations and you call. I think that's something that our friend is looking into, because when you think about it, if you're going fishing, you need to look into getting a fishing license. But there's the potential that because of for one time only fishing thing, that the state DNR
Unless,
would
of
provide.
course, we totally love it, then we need to get fishing licenses. But I imagine, it's going to be a really fun experience, much like last year Dan and I had the opportunity to go out on some friend's boat. And I was able to transfer out of my wheelchair into an actual seat on the boat. And that's one of my best memories from summer. And we were able to do that with a little ingenious thinking of how to get my wheelchair onto the dock and then how to transfer me into the boat. But if you do a little thought and a little planning, I think there are a lot of things that are accessible for people, whether your MS has gotten to the point where you no longer walk or transfer on your own, or just where you need to be cognizant of the fact that you can't take the heat like you used to.
And that's where you surround yourself and you let your friends know what you need, what you're looking for. And I mean, find friends who are able to help you think outside of the box, because never in a million years would I have thought that we could have gotten you onto their boat without your wheelchair. But it's like, just putting down, we carried boards from Dan's house to this beach so that you could drive your wheelchair on those boards over the sand to get onto the dock, and then we were right up front and center. And then you stand, you pivot and transfer there, and we were comfortable with leaving your wheelchair there alone on the dock. And I think it's just having those resourceful people, and obviously then we needed help getting you up out of the boat to stand and everything, but that's where you again surround yourself with great friends.
Yeah, and that is true. And like I said, that was one of my favorite memories of summer. And I know that when we're going to go fishing next month, that's going to be an incredible memory because it's great friends. But I'm going to be able to do something, and you're going to be able to do something just like everyone else. And I think that's why, the heat it's hot, obviously, but don't let it hold you back from doing all the things that you want to do, or think outside of the box, like Dan said, and figure out a way so that you don't let multiple sclerosis hold you back. And if you're a caregiver, don't let the person you're caring for, don't let their MS hold them back. Think outside of the box and get clever and reach out to the MS community. There's so many of us who have so many great solutions and ways to handle the disease.
Well, and that's just where I'm looking at everything that we were there when we had family out a couple weekends ago, and it's just like the night and day difference between the sun and the shade. And I mean, let's be honest too, don't forget to wear your sunscreen, but at the same time you talk about and we're not doctors, but I often joke that if I'm there or I need to go out and I get out of the shade, go to the sun, it's like, oh, I need to go get my dose of vitamin D, because as much of the talk of people saying that people with MS need
More
so
vitamin
much vitamin D. And
yeah.
so it's just like, but again, wear the sunscreen so that you don't cause other problems.
Right, because I went out when we did have family in town a few weeks ago, and I drank in as much sun as I could, and I did get sunburned. I remember I had quite a little rosy cheek that I wasn't aware of, but I had this sunburn, and it made me warm, and I'm typically comfortable, not a warm person. But boy, that evening I was like, gosh, is it hot in here? Because my internal temperature, my core temperature warmed up with my sunburn. So that's a good tip, is to wear sunscreen. And I would say another good tip is to dress in layers, so that if you do get warm, you can take off some clothes. Or if you get like a sunburn and I got cold, like 2 days later, I was like, oh, it's so cold in here. So throw on another sweatshirt, or if you have layers, throw on a jacket or a light shirt. So I think that's a good tip, is to stay hydrated, use sunscreen, and dress in layers.
Well, layers, and I noticed today as I was sitting outside, and again, a lot of this stuff is just common sense that we should know, but it's easy to forget, especially as we're just starting out the summer season, as far as like, oh, remember this, because I really felt it today that I wore a black T-shirt.
Oh yeah, I'm
versus,
sure.
the other day I had a white T-shirt on, but just the way that the black absorbs all the sun's rays and all the heat and everything. And I think that's the other thing too. Be patient with yourself and understanding. It's like I test my limits, but it's just like you just kind of reestablish where you're at. I think it's a lot of times it's like when the seasons change to winter, you gotta remember how to drive on the snow, and remember
how to bundle up so that your extremities aren't cold and your face isn't cold, and how important it is to wear a hat and a scarf. Well, this is the inverse with summer, but it is really important that, especially if you're newly diagnosed with MS, You may feel like when you're in the heat, like, oh my goodness, I think I'm having an exacerbation or a flare up. Well, if you go and you sit in the shade and you cool yourself down, those symptoms that you thought were going to be sticking with you for a really long time may go away. And that's one of those things. Don't be surprised with the power of a cool drink or an ice cream cone or just relaxing in like the shade. What a difference a 15-20 degree temperature change will make.
And that's where we just really want you, excuse me, to encourage you this summer as we're coming up. Have fun. Go outside, enjoy it. But it's like find different ways to enjoy the sun, the warmth, and everything with your friends, with your family. First thing, like Jennifer said, ice cream, water, things to cool you off, keep your core temperature down. Go out, do things in the morning, do things at night, before and after the sun's been out.
And redefine summer fun, that you may not have to be out right in the middle of the day.
And just set your own pace, talk to your friends. This is what you're doing, this is what you can do. Don't overdo it, but do it.
Yeah, don't let your MS hold you back.
And do the research to find out where things are accessible so that you can go and enjoy things. And just accept that you have multiple sclerosis, but know that it's not going to limit you in maximizing your fun through the summer. So thank you all so much for taking the time to hang with us again today on the 37th episode of A Couple Takes on MS. If you want to send us a note, go to our website, danandjenniferdigman.com, and let us know what you do for summer fun.
And summer enjoyment and what your tips are. And reach out to us on Facebook at Dan and Jennifer Digman, or on Twitter, we're at DanJenDig, and tweet us. Send us some of your tips on Twitter or on our Facebook or our website.
So thank you all again, and until next time, this is Dan Digman.
And this is me, Jennifer Digman.
The Couple Takes on MS. Thanks to MS&Me Radio Network for having us, and thanks to Blue Draft Kid for composing the theme music for our show.
Bye-bye.